Now I'm gonna call this July 22nd, 2025, Hancock County Commissioners Special Meeting. To order. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
No, I'm gonna move that we accept the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public comment. Maybe got open this morning wishing to make a public comment. Anybody on Zoom, Monica?
No.
Hearing none, we'll move on. Approval of the minutes.
All right, I'm gonna move to approve the minutes of the July 1st, 2025 Commissioners' regular meeting as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unorganized territory. Is Millard on this morning?
No.
There may be a delay of people because I had to just fix the
So,
link,
So
so,
I'm not seeing.
all right.
all right.
I'm gonna move to accept and file the UT's monthly report as presented.
That might be no there. I don't know who manager is.
Should I make a motion?
John made a motion to accept the report as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You said Millard was coming?
There was somebody called manager. I'm not sure who it was.
On UT though, I will report, spoke to Millard here this morning.
Oh, wait, we have no way.
There we go.
So,
Millard, good morning, are you on?
No
Can't
sound,
hear you.
Miller.
No sound.
No.
Still no sound.
There we go.
There we go. Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Millard, we've accepted your report as submitted. Do you have anything to add to it though?
Yes, the dangerous building. I talked to Karen Bolstridge after I submitted the report, and she said that she had been talking to the daughter-in-law that I had had contact with, and that daughter-in-law is no longer dealing with it. Mr. Sherman is going to deal with it himself. And at the last time she talked to him, or the last time Morgan talked to him, he said he did not want to follow through with getting a permit. And they thought that was kind of too bad. And she was going to contact him one more time to see if they couldn't get him to do something.
If no permit is required, then that means now we're faced with whether or not we want to demolish the building.
Yes,
Do you know what the process is for that, Millard?
well, I've never done it before. Ellsworth just did it at a place on Fairgrounds Road. I thought I would check with the Ellsworth Code Enforcement Officer and see how they.
You feel confident that whatever allows that in a municipality also gives the county the opportunity to do that?
Yes.
Okay. I'm familiar with that piece of property. That was a building that burned. It's been there 3 or 4 years or something, so. I'm not familiar with the process they went through.
Yep.
Okay, well, we'll have to wait to hear from you then. The other thing, Millard, ran into Spencer Preble, Lead Mountain Pond, and he said that you and he had come to an agreement on where to put some new culverts in, and he said they had been replaced, correct?
The culverts were delivered on the 16th, and Brian was going to start work on them yesterday.
I think it was yesterday. I spoke to Spencer and he said that they were in, so he must have been talking to Brian Monday night or something.
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
That means we're ready to pave then, correct?
Yep. The rain Sunday did some washouts on Martins Ridge Road. And I talked to Atherton Construction. They were gonna go up and get that patch back up.
And you haven't been in contact with Eaton to see what the schedule is for paving, huh?
No, I haven't. Well, they're working with Brian, because Brian is gonna do the groundwork on Back Road. The last time I talked to Eaton's, they were gonna do Back Road first. And Brian was gonna do the ditching and site work for them before they paved.
Okay, he may be right there doing that now then as we speak, probably.
Yep.
Because he's also doing the groundwork for the Lead Mountain Pond people from Back Road into the lake, so.
Yep.
Brian's doing that too. Okay, very good. Gentlemen, anything else? Millard? All set?
Unless he's talking, possibly, is he presenting, he's not presenting anything, okay, ACO, right?
Did we have something with the ACO?
That contract.
Yeah, that's right.
What's that? Millard, or was that
It
you?
was separate, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay,
All
okay, Millard.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, commissioners.
So ACO, Michael.
All right, so the current regional ACO, Dan McKay, was contacted by the town of Sorrento. They've had some issues associated with dogs and other things that they found is kind of above and beyond the scope of what they have right now, and it's taken them longer to get a certified animal control officer, so they wanted to come back to the county regional fold and have an agreement. So I told them I would put forth the agreement for you today. Once they sign it, which you have in your packet, they did sign it. There is one little notation that they requested, and under normal contracts wouldn't necessarily make that change for the year, but for this case and not knowing, I mean, they may decide again at the end of this year that they'll have an ACO by then and all that, but just to make it clear so that both parties felt okay, propose that additional language in there that made it clear that he would refer lost dogs to them to find. It's not that he wouldn't do anything. I mean, he would keep a record of it and it would be posted and everything. And if he knew, then he would obviously assist them, but just he wouldn't actively go out and try to search for lost dogs. He would leave that up to the town, which is what they requested. So, and basically the other part of this would be the proration, which you normally do as well, based upon the annual stipend.
All right, I'm gonna vote to approve the town of Sorrento's 2025 ACO agreement with Hancock County as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion. There's no downside to this back and forth. I mean, when they're with us, when they pay, when they're not.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Loss of revenue, it's not like.
basically, it's not like it costs us anything. It's just that it, a little bit of additional paperwork burden and stuff like that. But,
Well,
it,
I remember years ago, the law enforcement contract, Stonington, they flip-flopped back and forth for several years before they realized it was the best deal in town, so
and I'm
maybe someday they'll
assuming,
come around.
yeah, I'm assuming that hopefully will be the case with.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, I'm gonna vote to approve the town of Sorrento's 2025 MOU for an ACO between the town of Sorrento and Hancock County.
I'll second that.
Discussion.
Just real quick, a question for clarification. I included that on the MOA because last time we discussed this, having just me sign the MOAs and not necessarily have the full commission sign. So what you have before you has it that I do that. But this is really the first test case of new contract that we have. So is that agreeable to basically have you approve them and then authorize me to sign as well, or by default?
Well,
How do you want to handle it?
I'll remind you that when we sign a law enforcement contract with the sheriff's department, we sign the contract. And then it's up to the sheriff and the municipality to come to an agreement on the MOU, and that's signed between them. So we're not involved in law enforcement contracts MOU, and quite honestly, I think if we approve the agreement, leave it up to the, like in this case, Michael and the town to come to some agreement on what the MOU is going to entail and sign it without us approval. I don't think there's any reason for us to approve it. You gentlemen. So I think in the future, whatnot, we'll act on the agreement. Once you have that, then go ahead
And do
and work
the
your
MOA?
MOU through the town.
Yeah, okay.
We have a motion for.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Airport,
Good morning. So we got a request from the, I guess, the Airport Advisory Committee. After all their interviews, and Michael and I sat down with Du Bois and King also and had a meeting. So we would like to move forward on that general consultant agreement that we're gonna propose to Du Bois and King.
All right, I'm gonna move to approve the Airport Advisory Committee's recommendation of Du Bois and King, Inc. of Vermont, and to accept the proposal from Du Bois and King, Inc. of Vermont as to serve as the Hancock County Bar Harbor Airport Engineering Consultant Firm.
I'll second that.
And we'll bring back an agreement in the future for
but the
signatures.
agreement hasn't worked out yet, though, correct?
No, correct.
So the motion should probably reflect, John, that approve upon satisfactory agreement.
Okay, yeah.
You know,
You know, we're just approving the recommendation.
I thought the motion said to sign
Yeah,
the agreement.
it's just to approve the recommendation.
Okay, so it's possible that an agreement can be worked out. We were not obligated to sign that, just understand. Sam, you okay with the motion then?
I am.
I'm gonna call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anything else, Leroy?
No, that's it for now. Thanks.
Thank you. Moving on to the jail. Morning,
Morning,
Jim.
this request to remove Jessica Cole from county payroll to resign.
All right, move to approve the removal of Jessica Cole from county payroll.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Same thing with Dorothy Fletcher, she resigned, she was a part-time cook.
Move to approve the removal of Dorothy Fletcher from county payroll.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And just by reference, we didn't approve. We didn't accept the resignation.
We did the July 1st, July meeting,
We agreed to approve.
their resignation.
Yeah, you accept.
Okay, the point I was making is that I don't think there's any need for us to vote to remove from payroll if we have approved the
Okay.
termination. We use this for part-time people, that don't retire, don't resign, they don't terminate, they just no longer come here. So only use, Michael, do you agree?
Yeah, that's fine if you're okay with it.
No, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
Moving on,
First hired Tristan Metal of Warrington as part-time corrections officer on call as needed effective July 26, 2025. With no benefits at pay grade 9A.
So moved.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 And both of these HR and I had a lot of discussion about, so. And the second one is request to hire Louis St. Pierre Herman as full-time corrections officer with full benefits day July 26th at pay rate 9F2.
So moved.
I'll second that.
By way of discussion, HR agrees with the step two.
Yeah, it's due to the amount of experience that there, he's not at entry level.
It always helps when you get your blessings, so, yeah. I'm gonna call a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Put you back in full staff or nothing.
Oh, you just changed yourself again. Good to hear that, Phil. Morning, Dennis.
Morning.
See, the first agenda item we have here this morning, and just by way of reference, that's the large, we called it the hangar, it's building D, the large storage building, got a lot of potential. Problem is it leaks. And it needs substantial roof repair. Once we get that roof repair, electrical is about the only thing we need in that building.
Yeah, yes, that's right. Along with, we're doing some
Petitioning,
adding a garage door and a man door on the other end. And just some basic general tidying up. There's some damaged siding and so forth.
that building's what, 90 by 160 or something like
Yes,
that.
yeah, massive.
It's a
And
beautiful building.
and
So it's
31
certainly-
feet tall.
So, moving on,
Tim, will that eventually be the impound yard you think for the
yes,
law district moved up?
yes,
Just the trails and stuff, be nice to put them on the cover, so. For sure.
yeah, that's exactly what we envision seeing, you know, and we've got a vehicle right now that we're putting up to bid. And the thing is basically sat there 3 years and almost ruined, just setting in your yard.
Right.
We can get it undercover, you know, and protect it, maybe the value, we can realize more value in the forfeiture.
For sure.
We are now.
And we could fit 20 of those in there.
Yeah, Dennis
In
and I
just
have
one
always
section.
talked about getting everything from the trailers, whatever.
It just says a service work on the trailer, it just says a maintenance on the trailer, just about to have a service siding in.
For sure.
And that's exactly what we're looking at, probably some of the first stuff we'll put in there once we get the building service.
Yeah, we're already talking about that along with a bunch of the coach under the, and behind the garage, you know, with the sheriffs, that's just sitting in a pretty,
Thank you.
pretty bad
So
environment. But yeah,
I'm gonna move forward with, opening up the roof bids. The first bid we have is from Williams Construction, located in Brewer. And the bid price. $149,000, $149,630. 149,630. And we have a bid from Resurrected Roofing and Construction in Clifton. Bid is $212,220, 212,220. Wow,
a lot of money.
that is way more than we anticipated.
The, one of the factors here may be the type of roofing. I spec'd out, the blind fastener raised seam roof. And both of these contractors both told me that corrugated roofing is cheaper. And I wonder if I should not contact these men or companies and see if they would offer a price without standing seam for corrugated roofing and see if that doesn't save quite a bit of money.
I have a question, with the corrugated.
Sure. And that's what's on there now.
That's what's on there now.
Yes.
I was told, I don't know if this is true, that the fasteners which are exposed need to be replaced. So
That is a characteristic of that type of roofing. In fact, especially in this building, building D, being the front was open for so long, it was exposed to westerly winds, you know, constantly inflating and deflating it. That's the cause of a lot of the leaks up there is fasteners being lifted and then water, and to the point where, in some cases, all of the strapping is just rotted out. And that's why we're talking about a replacement on that side.
So it's not even.
So this way, I thought, you know what, let's do this and do it top shelf, which is what I can consider this system.
So those purlins rotted, even putting a sealant on the top isn't an option, is it?
No, because they deflect any snow load now. What happens is the snow load gets, and the way that it's constructed, you've got, steel purlins, which run horizontally across this roof this way. Then you've got strapping, which runs vertically. This vertical strapping is butted sometimes right in between the two purlins and sags. So snow load, it sags, creates an opening, and water just runs through it until it's relieved, and then it seals up a bit, but not completely. So it's partly material, partly method, which puts us where we are today.
Well, this is a little shell shocked.
I agree.
I'd like to suggest that we take this under advisement, get it back to Dennis, see if we can't find a reasonable alternative that would be less.
Do you want me to contact him
You do,
independently?
Dennis, in fact, you and I'll talk, but
Okay,
we've got to do something different. This is 150,000.
yeah, that's more than we want to spend.
That's 3 times more than we had hoped we would spend.
Right, it is.
And I'll remind you,
Please don't.
gentlemen, we don't have a budget for this. This is going to have to come from found money, so. That's, I think today, I just think we'll
For sure.
accept this as it's probably the cost.
Yeah, and I have talked with other roofers and gotten some cost information, which I'm not gonna share today. I don't wanna compromise our process. But let me,
You know, we went out to bid, we got the bids. I'm not gonna say that we're rejecting these today, but we are not accepting them. I'm wondering now if we haven't complied with the mandate to go out to bid, and now leave it up to Dennis to see if we can't find a contractor who will come in and do this work under some condition, construction condition that we could accept, rather than have to put this up to bid again. You know what I'm saying? Michael?
I mean, my initial thought is that that's probably skirting the bidding criteria because now you're changing the specs. It's not, it would be different if you went out to bid and the contractors, you didn't get any contractors and stuff, and then you feel like, well, we tried, and nobody, but you have 2 bids here, and now you're gonna change. So arguably, you know, but that's my,
do you think, Michael, if I contacted just the bidders independently and got an alternate price for a different material, that it would be?
I mean, that's certainly better, but arguably they both know what each one bid now, so they could start trying to, you know,
And-
high bidder to under bid.
And if you follow Michael's logic and whatnot, that means other people who didn't bid because of the specs that he put out.
May have been
bid
more
if we-
inclined.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sure, and I don't mind rewriting the spec for a cheaper material and putting it right back on the street either. I mean, we're not.
But there's certainly nothing to prevent you, I think, from going out and having conversations, trying to explore other alternatives before you know, put those specs together, so.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to hold anything up either, but, I mean, it's just, it's an
No,
entirely
we want to observe.
different kind of thing,
I think that's where we stand. I think we're gonna have to work on, I hate to call it cheaper, but something less.
Less expensive, yeah.
That still meets our needs, so.
Well, I will tell you that I worked at the hospital in Bangor for a while, and we had a building, the Kagan building, which is a beautiful $25 million building, and the roof leaked so chronically that we ended up building another space inside to keep water off the IT area, a roof inside of the roof. But, so extremes have been performed and done elsewhere, but I think we're on the right track here. Let's look for a lower solution and then decide how to get there. I can have that ready for you. but-
Okay.
And I already have another bid going on this week anyway on snow removal, so I don't want to jam up the pipeline with bids either.
Okay, I think you have your sense of direction. Moving on. So, the sign out to the Hancock site,
Yeah, it's been installed.
it has.
We removed the Robbins lumber piece of it, so it's blank in the middle. And it's Minnesota looks great. It's fabulous.
Brian, put that
Yeah,
up.
we did the test drilling the other day. It was last Thursday or Friday. And, yeah, it looks really good.
So you had a recommendation, but I removed that from the agenda because I think, Dennis, you and I need to have a discussion with whoever from the town of Hancock is responsible for the 911 numbering system. The reason I say that is I think when at some point, there's going to be a recognition that the Hancock, the Robbins lumber mill, as it originally stood, will transition into a, multi-owners who have separate entrances, whatever, because we are going to have an entrance, the one that we have now off of 19, what's the name?
Wyman Road.
Wyman Road,
17,
17 Wyman Road. That's going to go the length of our property.
right,
And we're going to have 5 buildings on that property.
right.
And I'm suspecting that if we'll say for example, that we leased or sold that last building down, then we have a new property occupant, if not an owner, in that building who would probably want their own mailing address. They would want 17.
I see what you're saying. So our driveway may become a street. at
I
some
think
point.
I think it probably will, because I know that Elliott Jordan Company is going to use the existing upper one as their main entrance for that, and that's going to become who knows what. I mean, that could be, he's even talking about perhaps a housing development way out in back. Right. So I'm thinking that at some point, we may end up having street and designated 911 numbers for that street, and another street up there. One of those, or some of those, is called what, Lumberman Way or something.
Yeah, yes.
But I'm suggesting that probably ours would not be that. Ours would be something different, and I have a suggestion if it comes to that. But I think, I'd like to see you and I perhaps find out who the 911 coordinator is down there for Hancock. Because, and do away with 17 Wyman, get a street designation, and then the EOC might have a separate number from the EMA, and so.
And we certainly have time enough to do that. And this might alter our spec with respect to construction of that road relative to our project.
And it certainly would affect our sign, because we would list EMA perhaps as a, I'll tell you, I'm thinking of Civic Way.
Sure.
Civic Way, you know what I mean?
I was thinking the same,
Yeah, something like that.
municipal
So,
street.
yeah. Municipal Street, Civic Way, something, so anyways, the EMA might be, 22 Civic Way or something.
Yep.
Do you know who this 911 coordinator is down there?
Chris Holmes?
Chris, the
Well,
fire
he's
chief?
the fire chief.
Now, in the city of Ellsworth, they had somebody at the city hall that did that. But,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty-
because it's a computer.
Pretty small concern there.
It's a computer program, so it probably is someone in the office.
In the office, well, we'll check with the town. clerk.
Yeah, well,
We shouldn't have a problem with that, but.
no, I wouldn't think.
So I'd like to defer any action on this sign until Dennis, you and I perhaps do a little homework there and see what
Sure.
ultimately that's gonna look like. And,
To take it from a driveway to a road. Are these requirements?
Yeah, there are specifications and requirements, which we would incorporate in our plan, and there wouldn't be much different than what we just make sure they met those.
If you drive around and you look at some of the signing in some of these municipalities, you'll notice that if you have a driveway longer than X amount of feet, it becomes a designated way, you know what I mean? Even
Yes,
though you might be the only one up there, you now off. So I kind of feeling that we're going to be in this situation with ours, and probably should,
sure.
as considering there may be multiple
But
entities.
I do have a quote on the sign, irrespective of verbiage, which is just a little over $1,000, which I
Good.
thought was pretty good.
All
So
right,
that's all can be tabled until we
Yep.
make a determination.
and I think we should set this
Yeah.
aside for now.
Sure, that's forward thinking.
Do a little work on this. Item C, Dennis,
Yeah, you'll see our shredder downstairs started crapping out a few weeks ago, and it's electronic PCB trouble that it needs to be replaced. It's had some hard use.
What's the
So-
value of the new one?
Well, I thought it was around 3,000. That's why we're here, but actually I found one for about a little over $2,000 of this.
So if it's under 25, it really isn't, it's an
Yeah,
issue
but-
for us, is it?
No, but we entered down this road. I wanted to continue. It was, not to appear as we yank something off.
Are these funds in your budget?
No, I'm going to pay for at least a third, and Julie's agreed to pay for a third, and Michael and maybe the sheriff might chip in a little bit to
Big
lessen the
uses.
load, but,
Okay,
and if we did that, it'd be 2,100, which is the cost of like 2,050, something like that.
sounds to me that you don't need our intervention in this issue.
No, well, we agree, but we thought we just, rather than yank something off the agenda, we'd address it.
We have, we're moving on.
This item here, I entered this name, JT Blake was on the resume of this, our candidate, and her actual name is Mackenzie. But before we read that, I want to make sure that, and I think John's got
I
that.
had it fixed. All right, we'll move to approve the hire of Mackenzie Blake, Belzer's name, for the position of full-time janitor at a rate of pay, grade 5, step C, effective July 26th, 2025.
I'll second that.
And again, Josh, you approve of the city
Yes.
recommended. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Dennis, anything else?
That's it, gentlemen, unless you have anything for me.
Great, we'll be talking.
Yeah, very good.
Okay,
Sure.
well, this is almost disturbing. We've lost another clerk.
Sure.
Yes.
What's the fourth in 6 months or something?
Yeah, we're on our way to addressing that.
Not that bad. Probably third one.
Yeah.
And we lost 3, so we lost 3 more. since then?
No, she retired and then we had two.
Oh, I had 2. So, oh, this will be the
So this next one coming up.
okay, maybe 4 is a chap. So what's your pleasure, gentlemen?
Move to accept the resignation of Sarah,
Yeah.
effective July 8th, 2025.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, and the second item, gentlemen, this Juneteenth holiday, this was brought up by a member of the public on the June 17th meeting. I understand talking to Michael, this was something that he's brought up before, I don't know if it was last year. But obviously, there's public concern there that maybe we're not taking the days as seriously as we should as the county, being that it's a state holiday and a federal holiday. So I guess my question this morning is if it can't be confirmed as a holiday for the county, what's some recommendations of how we can recognize that day while working at the same time, so it doesn't appear that the county is just glossing over the significance of that day?
I don't think it's that we can't do it. It's whether we want to do it or not.
Maybe the holiday.
Whenever it's gotten brought up, it's always been said, oh, if you do that holiday, we have to get rid of Friday after Thanksgiving. To me, doesn't make any sense, because,
Thank you.
other than the fact that they, it's a holiday, Friday after Thanksgiving. But, to me, it would just be whether it's the financial effects of adding another holiday to the calendar, and then when we go through our union negotiations, adding that into the union contracts, what the financial effects would be. That's the only part that I'm not sure of, but how it would affect us on the financial side.
Sam, your thoughts? Well, there's a couple issues that I see. First of all, it is a financial issue because more than half of our employees will require replacement, which means somebody's going to come in and work for them. They're going to get the day off, or they're going to work a double time and a half, one or the other, for this day, or they're going to get the day off. Somebody else is going to work a time and a half. And then everybody who was on day off that day, gets another day that they take off and replace the time. So I think there is a substantial amount of money involved in approving every holiday that we do approve. And the other issue is that we'd have to phase this in over the next 3 years because you can't implement this with the existing contracts. That means some employees are going to enjoy this, a couple of years before others, and that's all issue. I don't know if it's even feasible, but I would entertain the notion that we approve this on the fiscal year 2027. Gives us time enough to negotiate that into each of the additional contracts. Everybody comes on a line about the same time, and everybody enjoys it, and we consider, adding it in. But I don't know whether we can today, encumber this commission 3 years down the road. But I would suggest that, at least by way of reference, that we tell the public that today pledge your support for making this a county holiday on the first Juneteenth of 2020.
What other contracts, so we've got the contract that's happening this year.
Next year would be dispatch, the year after that,
corrections. So you'd have 2 of the 3 contracts essentially.
Right, that's why 27 would be last contract, so we have that in place.
So that's great for 2027, but it's not very much fun to come to work on a day when you don't get any mail, you don't get any e-recordings. All you do is work on old stuff. There are no people in the building because the whole county thinks you're closed. I mean, so would you say that's okay too, but you have to wait for the union to do the union negotiation? I mean, we are always last. The courthouse employees are always last. We are considered last or not considered at all. So I'm just saying, when you can't get any mail, you can't process documents, and all you have to work on is old stuff and no people are in here, it's not a very pleasant day to spend. And we're not making money.
If we gave union people the day off without a contract, would that be a problem?
Yeah, it's a violation of the contract. You not only can't withhold what you agreed to, you can't give more. Because they allege that, oh yeah, you're trying to make it look like they don't need a union because you can give them stuff without the contract. So it's just a bigger violation to give them something not in the contract than it is to withhold something that is.
Sir, if I may, given that Juneteenth was only last month, we would have 11 months to really work on this issue. We have ample time to get it approved. Is that something that I can work with the unions on to see if there's some middle ground there?
I mean, to me, I don't think it's a big deal that one union would get a day off a couple days early than the other union. I don't know, maybe not understanding like everybody's attitudes towards stuff. But again, some people in the union are gonna get their raise a year before the other people. Well, that's not fair. They just got, it's a contract, so deal with it. You want to be a union member, that's part of what goes with it. That's also why you're gonna probably get better pay than the people in the courthouse that aren't unionized. It's just the way it's gonna be. So, to me, I've always thought the right thing to do was to observe it. It's a holiday, calendar, paid day off. And it's a state and federal holiday, and it looks bad for us not to be observing it. So, in my opinion, I would move to add Juneteenth to the observed holiday calendar for 2026.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All a vote, all in favor,
Aye.
Aye.
and I'm opposed. Motion carries.
All right, thank you, guys.
So we're ready to sign a TAN document?
So, yes, essentially, we have a number of papers that I sent to you, the attorney forwarded on to us yesterday. Number of documents that have to be signed by all three of you, as well as myself and the treasurer, Monica Sees. There's no motion, I confirmed that with the attorney yesterday, you already approved the motions to allow us to continue to work with the attorney. So it's a matter of signing the documents, which presuming you'll want to do at the end of the meeting when you sign all the documents, so.
Okay.
And at the time, we didn't know for sure, so that's why it's on there, but.
So I guess we'll move on to budget review.
Favorite thing of the year.
Uh,
Start.
I'd like to reaffirm a comment I made previously and make sure my counterparts understand and perhaps agree, but traditionally over the years, we have come to some agreement on a proposed budget that we're going to send to the BAC with the understanding that when they get done, we would do a real in-depth look at that and decide whether or not we wanted to adjust that up or down. Well, I'm suggesting this year that that critical review take place before it goes to the BAC, which means that somewhere between today, the first day that we start doing reviews from the department heads, before it gets to the BOC, there is going to be a critical review, and we're going to basically what we're doing is that what I'd like to see us do is propose to them what we'd like to see that budget look like when it comes back. And so our proposal is really a true proposal in the sense that we're going to tell them this is what we propose as the next year's budget. So to that end, today, we will accept and understand what the department heads are proposing in their budget. And if we see any places where we could come to an agreement on an adjustment, we will. But there will be another complete review of the budgets after everybody is in, and that will be a very critical review. And that will probably result, if tradition is true, that will result in substantial adjustments to that budget. So understanding that today, understand that usually you have 3 bites at the apple. Today, before we send it to the BAC, and then after it comes back. But we really need to get the critical review done before it goes to the budget so that they understand what we really would like to see for next year's budget. So with that in mind, gentlemen, do you have any issues with that, John? Sam, you understand? So let's start with Andy. Is Andy around this
He
morning?
should be online. Everything.
Right on cue.
I was on the elevator listening. Good morning.
So, gentlemen, ENA is a somewhat unique department in the financing, in the sense that only a portion is raised by taxation and a portion is
Grant funding,
grant funded.
yes. Federal.
So I guess the first discussion with revenues is, what do you anticipate, Andy, that grant funding is going to be for 26?
The same amount, Commissioner. For both, just for the revenue line. 105,597.
So why is the department head recommendation 83,126?
I beg your pardon?
I don't know. I took it from Trio.
I'm looking at the revenue page,
I am also.
and I'm looking at item revenue item 100, EMA revenue. 105,597 was last year, but I see 83,126 as a department head recommendation for 26.
Just because that's the amount of the grant award.
I thought you just told us that 105.
I did, I was using the trio number that was listed.
That's not.
I don't know what the grant award is yet, so I'm just using last year's number. That was my intent.
So where's the 105 come from? Why is Trio using 105?
I can't answer that, I don't know, sir.
I'm not even sure. I don't see 105 anywewhere.
It's in that action, it's in
It's
that.
actual.
24 actual. Trio,
20.
January.
That's what you're looking for.
Actually, it's 2024.
25 budget is 83,126.
I got you.
So we copied the 25 budget for now.
I got you. Okay, I'm
But
sorry.
you anticipate that number going up, Andrew?
I don't know,
Oh,
and I'm afraid to speculate one way or the other.
Okay,
The federal government, state government haven't assigned that yet.
why are we highlighting 24 information? Shouldn't that highlight should have been 25?
the blue is 25 year to date.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're talking about now. It's great. I have the same thing. Okay. I'm drawn to the. Whatever number that is, that blue one. Anyways. All right, so we recognize that the revenue sum of 83,126, your employee insurance is that contribution to the health insurance.
Correct, and that's budgeted 6,500.
Okay, gentlemen, you all set with the revenue? And expenditures.
With the exception of personnel services, there are no increases requested in any of the lines.
And there is a little equipment. Is there anything you can set because of,
Is that 10,400?
20-200.
yeah, 2020
That's
dash
the
two.
deductible increase.
Oh, yeah, that's correct, I'm sorry. That reflects the minimum deductible now for any insurance claims that we may have. And that's why that would be.
You'll see an increase in many departments taken into account because we've already had this issue come up this year, especially with the DA's most recent accident. The board from the Maine County Commissioners Association Risk Pool voted at the very end of last year in order to get an actual quote and insurance coverage, voted to increase the deductible from basically the 1,000 they had at the time up to the 2,500. So each department now is having to take into consideration that they have to raise a little additional money because if they do have a claim, then 2,500 is coming right out of the top and has to be charged to their budget. And unfortunately, what we're seeing, which they're seeing all across the state, and it's Sam DeBella, Commissioner Bella sits in on those meetings too. Deer hits are killing counties all over the state. And we've had a number here, including the most recent one, the DA truck, which did like $6,000 worth of damage to it, almost 7,000. So, even with the 2,500, yeah, that's better than the full amount, but it's still a lot more than it's been. So you're gonna see those numbers likely increase with many of these as the department heads account for that.
Thank you for explaining that. And I provided for both the vehicle and the trailer. I own several trailers, but I figured it would include just one.
So we're trying to cover 2 incidents.
So basically, I mean, it varies, it depends, each department had kind of, at a minimum, I said you've got to figure at least you're gonna have one, so that you have the money in there. And many, depending on history and everything else, some of them may have put in 2. I mean, if you wanna, I think you need to have probably at least the 2,500 in there somewhere in the budget, even if they put it somewhere else, but
Well, I think this is a case where you got to travel with one vehicle. I think 2,500 is just safe.
So yeah, I provide for a vehicle and a trailer. I own many
Nevertheless,
trailers. but
nevertheless, the chances that trailer being damaged is.
I don't disagree. I just want to.
Because this is money we're raising that, we
You
don't
may
use
not
it.
use, yeah, you may not use.
I'd rather go looking for it. If we needed it later, didn't raise it, then raise it and not need it. I'm gonna suggest we reduce 2,200, 2,500, gentlemen.
So previously, we had added
Yeah.
3,500.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious.
Previously it was zero.
I need to change the highlighting on my columns. Apparently, the 2025 budget is 3,500.
Yeah,
Where is 20?
the actual, you're looking at the actuals we haven't had.
Okay, so the 25 budget is not highlighted, no.
I
Right.
apologize.
No, well, don't apologize, just to understand what I got here in front of me. Okay, so I'm still saying that if this is only here to cover our deductible in the event of a collision, I'm saying odds are if we've got one vehicle in the department, the worst that's gonna happen, one that's, we only need $2,500.
Well, and then that also includes repairs and stuff too, so that's their normal maintenance
Correct.
repair.
So it should be 6,000.
So it's a maintenance.
So it's both, I mean, arguably, I guess we could look at adding line for just insurance, but I mean, it's neither here nor there, it's still the same thing.
And so we're getting a brand new vehicle. The only thing we should need perhaps is oil change. Right? So let's reduce that to 3,000.
But however, snow tires, I mean, there's always expenses that come up, even in brand new vehicles I found in years past, so. I feel compelled to have something budgeted there under maintenance.
But your actual is zero.
Through June,
I try not to use it,
that's through June,
June.
and in July, he did have a vehicle repair.
yeah.
So he's gonna overextend that line item for June.
I've already overspent that money for the year.
I would think same as last year would be sufficient.
Which is what, 35?
Yeah,
Yes.
Going once, going twice, 35, gentlemen. $35 it is.
Did you want to discuss personnel costs or? Yes.
Well, you're right now are going on the 5% we recommended. Is that correct?
For myself, yes, but for the deputy director position, and the administrative assistant position, no.
Does that budget show 5% for the deputy?
So on the spreadsheet, you'll see 5% in Excel because that's what we did for everybody in accordance with you. And then the next page, so there's 2 pages for each one. The next page is the trio printout that includes the department head budget as requested by the department heads, which pretty much all the ones you have today show differences than the Excel spreadsheet
It's all primarily personnel.
in the personnel. Yeah.
But Josh, are you going to have anything more with regards to your study you're doing on wages that would help us at some point in this budget preparation? I mean, are you prepared to make recommendations on, with the research you've done on specific positions?
If that's what you'd like, commissioners, I can sit down with each department and come up with a number as they're going through the process. if that's
Well,
what you'd like.
you did an analysis of the survey and determined that several were either below, right on, or above, or at least whatnot. So at least your survey, without making any recommendations, does demonstrate to some point what the survey feels they should be paid. I'm just wondering if we could have an analysis, just if nothing more, based upon your survey on the request versus the survey, how do they pay?
Okay. I can come up with a more individual approach if you'd like. What I was recommending based off the survey was that the majority of the positions show that an increase is needed.
What I would like to see is a recommendation from you on each specific request that is in excess of the 5% that we have suggested right now, because at some point we're gonna have to make a decision. And
Which is what is presented in the trio pages.
So let me ask, so on the trio pages, like in the manager, what's the percentage increase there? Because it's not, some of them mentioned it, but this one doesn't. So is that like 6% or something?
I think it was 9.
What's that?
Was it 9? I don't know. All I could go by was the number that the department head gave me. I don't know where the calculations came from.
Unless they were noted, so.
Right, in some departments they are noted. But some, I'm not sure where they're getting these numbers from the survey. I can't.
Well, I'll speak to mine, and I did review these with Joshua. It was based on the survey, and using comparable figures in not York and Cumberland County, for instance, but ones situated closest to Hancock County in population. So that would be Knox, Oxford.
Can you tell me offhand, do you remember what the percentage was that went up? That is,
9, I believe, is what it was for the deputy director position. To bring that up to 63,128. Now for the administrative assistant position, to see that raised to 26,572, but that is multiplied by 2 because that's a shared expense between the airport and EMA.
So the deputy assistant is a 14% increase.
Thank you.
I have my little calculator here. I don't think they were looking particularly at a percentage. They were looking at the numbers that they chose from the survey.
And
That's accurate, thank you.
I'd really like to see some help with this, Josh, helping us understand those two things. What's the 5%? What's the survey? What's the request, in percentages, and, so that we can.
Yeah, they're varied for every department.
I know it, that's why we need to know how that varies, what it is, and
So
I don't think we're going to make every one of these discrepancies, if you will, in salaries in one budget year.
Well, when I had originally spoke on the salaries, I took that in mind. I realized that we couldn't make all of these things work in one budget cycle without breaking our budget. When I had originally proposed these ideas, sir, it was based off the 3 to 5 year timeline of eventually getting people where they need to be, whether that be an extra 3% each year until we can get where we want to be based off cost of living. I don't.
So how does his deputy conform to that philosophy, 3 to 5 years?
If there's a gap there that's that high, 14%, then I think that we try to break that up gradually over a multi-year process.
So you don't think that his 14% increase for his deputy is consistent with the results of the survey?
For that position, it's hard to say, but with respect to how hard it's been for him to hire into that position, there's obviously a need there for some sort of salary raise because he's not really getting any interest in that position.
Okay, so I guess we're not gonna take any action on this today. What do you want?
no, I don't think we need to. I think right now we can probably start to set some expectations that exactly what you said. We'll look at the overall amount we're off, we're just gonna have to try to get there over the course of a couple of years to get it up. It's too much to try to expect a 14% increase, but I think the calls to get it up.
The 8.1% increase in your part-time, that's not a wage increase, as much as you're just asking for more part-time money, is that correct?
Just looking at it strictly mathematically, it's to have it be comparable and have parity with others performing those same duties.
So you are increasing the rate?
I would like to increase the rate, yes,
Okay,
please.
so we need to, that's the information we need to see too. I mean, what did that increase? Again, Josh, we'd really like to see some help with this, understanding exactly what we're looking at. Everything from.
Just as a general question, I mean, are you going to consider adjusting individual positions across the board, not at the same rate, or are you?
There you go.
Or are you going to do a large scale adjustment? I mean, just even for his calculation, again, to give you that confidence, I want to make sure we know what you guys really want to look at when those recommendations are coming back.
My response is that based upon the survey alone, he's determined that some wages are woefully inadequate, others might be right on par, others might be a tad above. And so giving a blanket percentage increase to everybody doesn't solve the problem of trying to bring people up to what they should be. So my personal opinion is if we're going to really do a good job trying to address the problem here, that we do those individually. Are you opposed to that, Michael?
I mean, again, to me, it just gets back to, again, how does that impact our wage scales? Because our wage scales, there's no way to make adjustments in certain parts of it and not, affect the whole thing. So if we're doing a wage scale, it's gotta be percentage wise in order to get that consistency all the way in between. Unless you pick and choose the levels and steps, which my issue just becomes, then that really gets back to the job description and again, the basic foundation that we build all our payroll on or pay scales on, which is again, that review criteria. So I mean, it has trickle down effect. If you make these adjustments, you change the job description to fit the price, eventually you don't have real
Scale.
You don't have a scale and you don't have really a real price. You're just picking things to make people happy at the time. And then that has trickle down effects all the way across the board. I mean, ultimately, I think the county needs to look at going back to the drawing board with that initial, what do we base review criteria to come up with what the point amount is for each scale and each thing. So, I mean, realistically, I think the county ought to look at that at some point. Is that gonna happen this year? No. But if you continue down this rate, I think eventually you need to do that and then make adjustments accordingly. Otherwise, you're arbitrarily, every time it comes up with somebody that's not happy with their salary or wages, you're arbitrarily just inserting certain factors and then that's it.
That 13-point criteria that we developed many years ago and whatnot to establish what your grade would be was a great tool, but it did not factor in the local market. It didn't,
I mean,
and that's, if that
that's
is
what I'm saying.
right, it needs some, the review process needs to consider that.
Well, that was the main point of the salary survey was to capture where our market is in Hancock County and how expensive it is here.
Right, so if Michael's point is that maybe we got to merge somehow that survey with the criteria for establishing grade step, grade position.
And of course, those things, if we're plugging them back into the wage scale, it's not gonna be exact. So again, it won't be a percentage thing. It's gonna have to be, we gotta keep whatever you come up with for the base scale increase will have to be inserted in there first. And then somebody at some point, as part of that review process, is gonna say, we think where this position should be, which the closest we can get is H or F1 or F2 or whatever it is on that scale, but it's eventually, I think we need something beyond just what being discussed right now, but that's
See, I don't
just
think,
my guidance.
I don't think steps is the way to address that. I think grades. So if you have a classification that we think is below where it should be, you increase the grade.
But you're making an arbitrary, you're
wouldn't
now
be-
making an arbitrary analysis of it.
Wouldn't be
Basically
arbitrary if you
say-
used your 13-point criteria in combination with your survey? That's not an arbitrary decision. If you,
Well, to the degree that the cost of living, if that's the big element that you're proposing, the cost of living is the same for every single one of us that works in this county. I mean, that's the set criteria. I mean,
but Michael,
but
if
you're
we-
saying certain positions aren't. But how do you score those fairly and come up with an arbitrary criteria? You can't use just cost of living, or this is what the position is being paid all across the county, because there's a variety of other factors that go into those grades. And then you're arbitrarily just saying, well, now we think this job description goes from, X to Y way up here, just because the people get paid more. Okay, I mean, that's fine if you're doing an analysis, but this isn't really gonna be analysis. You're taking a snapshot of one point in time, what it looks like. And there's no way to continue to adjust for that over time. Eventually, you're gonna be right back where we are. So how do you build that mechanism in there to have that scoring system that makes actual sense? That we're not just picking points on the map of the wage scale to see where a grade would be and saying, now all of a sudden, we haven't scored these, but now all of a sudden, we're just gonna give this position an extra 150, this position 500, this position 10. And again, I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm bringing it up to you in advance, because I think eventually you're gonna run into trouble with how this works. But can you do it this year? Sure. But at some point, I think some expertise and maybe guidance should be sought out to actually see how you could put something together. that
I think I
works.
said that 3 or 4 times this morning. We need some help. I mean, everybody has a suggestion, everybody has a want. Somebody's got to come up with a process. This is not something that we three have expertise in that nobody else has.
Well,
Give us some help here.
then what I'm gonna say is that you fundamentally have a wage scale system that's broken. And that you need to look at developing a whole new wage scale system that takes into account a variety of factors. You can piecemeal it the way that's being proposed, but at some point in time, you really need to have somebody help the county develop. And that's nothing against Josh or anybody else, but that's, I think, above any of our expertise, if anybody here sitting in the room. That's hiring a consultant or contractor or somebody that actually does that type of work. And
If-
could provide
If that
guidance.
is, I guess that's a good suggestion, but if that be the case, we shouldn't make any drastic adjustments until that has been done. And that means nothing is going to happen dramatically in the 26 budget. Because we're not gonna have time enough to do all that and be prepared to implement that in the budget. So,
And I'm not saying that. I mean, and you probably won't have it in the 27 budget either, because you're gonna have to raise, unless you're prepared to raise, a few thousands plus dollars, it's gonna be a costly project. So
for the consultant,
for the consultant, I would assume.
oh, I think that is money well spent if
I
the
agree.
end product.
I agree.
Because-
But I'm not trying, I mean, yes, I can hear the rumblings back there already. I'm not trying to hold up anybody's payroll or anything else. But you do a piecemeal like this, and eventually the scales mean nothing, the payrolls mean nothing, and then arguably, I think you have legitimate complaints among employees. Why is this position, I do all these other things, but yet this position is valued higher by the county? What's that based on? Well, we just did a scale back in 2025. That's what it was at the time. Again, there's no mechanism to adjust over time.
You're absolutely right, because 2 things occur. Throughout the year and whatnot, we get requests for adjustments. More often than not, we make them. And then we come to budget season, we make a bunch more. And we're gonna get more requests this year to do the same thing, so, I don't like the process either.
It's entirely up to you guys. I mean, I'm not, Josh wants to work with the department heads, we can get you what you want. But eventually, I mean, that should be part of the capital plan that we're looking at, down the road to do that process, because I think ultimately you're just, it's kind of like a Jenga. You're pulling out different pieces, throwing them on top, eventually that base is gone. And it makes no sense, and that's the best way that I can put it. Am I trying to hold up anybody's raises? No, of course not. But a long-term solution or vision, I think, here needs to be looked at. In the short term, can we correct inadequacies identified in the survey? Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, if you understand, if I understand what Michael's saying, is that before we make any dramatic changes in these things, that we should have somebody with the expertise come in, evaluate this whole system and give us advice on where we should move. If you agree to that, then I think it's important that we don't do anything dramatic. That we add money to HR's budget to hire a consultant and start this process, but it won't be done this fall. And we put the department heads and on notice that we got 5% is gonna be the number for 26. And because we can't be making these suggested changes at the same time we're doing this study. Because we're still reliant on this broken system that Mike was talking about.
Well, arguably though, you're gonna, the same thing's gonna be made, well, you've been doing it right now for the last couple of years anyway. So what's the change to do it this year? At least you're trying to adjust for it, but the long-term vision should be you're trying to correct the overall issue. So you don't have to do this every year. So you don't have to do it piecemeal. So again, I'm not saying you can't make changes now, but the vision should be, this shouldn't be the long-term fix approach, I guess is what I'm saying, because it is going to cause, eventually it's going to cause problems. But you've been doing it this way, maybe not to the scale it's being proposed this year, but you've been doing it this way as you stated. So, you know, maybe there can be a happy medium there, or something between dramatic 50% increases or something versus, again, working towards something until you have something better. Because who knows how long that'll take, to be honest with you.
Many of the department heads are making suggestions for their non-exempt employees that throw them off the scale. And so we've represented that in the trio pages, but the Excel spreadsheet shows just the 5% increase on the non-exempt scale. And then the exempt folks are a different story. If we want to compare their pay to Josh's, the results of the study, that's one thing, but the non-exempt, if you're all over the place, I have notes in my spreadsheet, breaking scale. And it makes it hard to, you're throwing off the scale, you're putting everybody on a different wage. Why have the scale? And so to Michael's point, we need to seriously consider
We have
some sort of a,
1 minute Michael's making a pitch to have this professional analysis done.
Yeah.
Then he seems to be making the pitch that, well, we still should be adjusting something this year. I mean,
well,
and I'm saying, I'm not prepared to do both. Because I don't want to sit here and pick and choose who's going to get some kind of a raise now with the promise to everybody else that we're going to have a consultant come in and study it. So,
Which was part of the issue before, why the wide scale approach was initially brought up.
Josh,
Sir, if I may, some progress is better than no progress at all. I think I expected that this was gonna be done over a multi-year process, given how much money over the course of the county we would have to invest in personnel services. What I would like to see is if we could all agree on the 5% for now, that's progress, but we agree to bring in those consultants so that we can see whether our scales are where they should be or not, so that next year we can make more changes. Is that something that we could do?
that was my point, I think, 20 minutes ago. Stick with the 5%. No dramatic adjustments to anybody's. Put money in your budget for consultant. Get this study done and then try to implement the recommendations of the consultant in the 27 budget. If you guys agree to that, then we should charge for Josh right now is trying to find out what a consultant, proper consultant would cost us. So that we have a number to put in your budget for the 26 year. The guy that did ours years ago has since died, so he's not available.
They did it.
So maybe Michael and I can research a name that we can have ready for next commissioner.
Not so much the name, but if you could get a sense of what it's going to cost, we could figure out, because we still may, I suspect it's gonna be well over 2,500, so we may have to draw up specifications.
I think it'll be in the 3 to 5 range,
I would,
maybe 25.
oh, well, it depends to what extent.
Depends on the extent of what you want.
Oh my God, the guy we had before, because we started with nothing, the guy we had before, we must have had, well, Julie, you were there.
No,
Can
no,
we-
I wasn't.
It wasn't involved.
No, they used typewriters when that thing was made. I'm just telling, Jamie just asked me, and I'm like, it was typewriters, it was not computer
It
driven.
wasn't there when Ken Windows did the study for us.
No,
Well, anyways, it took a dozen meetings just to organize that thing. Then we had to have several more with department heads to review each classification. That was a lengthy process. I mean, today, at today's price, I wouldn't be surprised, Josh, you're talking 20 grand. Everything time to do it right.
Josh, if you forget on the study, you were gonna say, if you were gonna give a percentage that you thought was the base, that if you looked at all the positions where we're off, how much of where do you think we'd be percentage, just out of curiosity?
It's hard to come up with one number because they're all sort of all over the place. But conservatively, what I wanted to do was 3% above COLA and do that each year until we're getting where we want to be. That works for the budget, I would hope, and that works for at least putting us on a path that we're telling our employees can't get there overnight, but yes, we're making this a priority to get where we're supposed to be.
But Josh, what about the people that you've determined that may be up on par right now? So in other words, if you give everybody the same 3% above COLA in an effort to get those subpar people up to par, aren't you overcompensating the people that are already at par?
The majority of the positions that are showing in the greens there are those union contracts, because they're typically some of the more better paid employees that we have. So those are things that are gonna happen in union negotiations anyway.
If you were at union negotiations, one of the first things they're going to do when they talk about pay is what we gave everybody else. So it's a strong argument for why we should give,
you gave it.
no, so, I don't know, if we start giving, 8-9% to the non-union people, you can bet the union's gonna use that as a defense for giving 9% to them, so. Well,
I don't think the 5% is far off from the 6. I mean, we are close. It's
well, if we're going to stick with the 5%, it has to be with the caveat that we're going to study this professionally and make those professional adjustments, the adjustments based on the experts' recommendations at some point later. Because Andy's asking for 14%. Oh, yeah. And we've got to tell Andy today, no, 5%. So we're gonna say, no, we're not gonna give you 14, you need a good reason. And the reason is that we're going to study that position in hopes that the deputy, hopes that it turns out to be a 14% increase. Which, yeah, if not, at least whatever the number is defensible. Julie,
I wish this had been done a month ago before people put their numbers in. And honestly, the way I feel after listening to you guys, you really should do a do-over for us to be able to put our stuff in, if that's what you're thinking. Because this isn't right for all of these numbers to go to the back committee and have them want to know why. I'm just saying, I think that you should let the department heads re-enter, and I'm sorry, Monica, Michael, but if this is the way you're gonna go, the numbers are not gonna, and what if that committee votes for someone's numbers that is way, I'm just saying, you
So
might
you're
wanna
you're
consider
saying
it.
that, so the department heads numbers and ours match.
Or closer, I mean, I would like to be a lot closer.
Arguably, that's the discussion right now.
Right.
Right, that's what I'm saying is.
It's not a matter of change, I mean, your ask is still what you'd like to see, right? Because that's why,
Well, if
I had the
reality's gonna
conversation.
slash it, if
Well,
reality's gonna slash it, I mean, I'd
but
like to get
the
closer.
reality was that every department head wouldn't get, I mean, and I think I made that clear, you can't come in with a whole bunch of different things
Right.
and expect the commissioners are gonna adjust to each one of you in a different fashion. So, I mean, the reality was to have you come today, make your arguments, make your claims, requests, if you have data to base that on, obviously you share it with them and add in your rationale behind it. And then before they make the final adjustment, you have that chance to reconcile.
Well, and I get that, and I really don't think my requests are out of line. But what I'm saying is, like, Andy's got a position he asked 14% for, and I'm not saying it's not justified, because he can't hire anybody, but you're saying, no, I'm just saying, I mean, I saw the salary thing, and I know how underpaid Chuck is, and man, you'd be slapping him around if he was asking what he should be getting paid for. So I'm just saying, give us a chance to get closer, I guess, because if the bat committee votes on something that you're not willing to pay, I'm just saying, it's gonna be not a good environment.
Right now, the BAC is going to get the Excel.
Right.
Another, it's a trio.
Right.
And the Excel right now shows the deputy at a 5% increase.
Right.
And that's what the department had recommended in the Excel. But that's not what,
No, that's
No.
what the commissioners
That's what the
recommended.
commissioners instructed us to put in too.
My recommendation is in tree.
So we give you what they initially inputted.
We need another column. There should be another
What?
column in that spreadsheet so that you can see the,
Trio should have been whatever was inputted in by you guys.
I know, you did not put in. Your recommendation on one thing is not.
What?
My part-time didn't get put in yours. Guess you didn't want me to have a part-time also.
Two different, may I just leave you with one final thought? Well, I speak sincerely with respect to both the deputy director position and the administrative assistant position. The deputy director position is presently vacant. With my request, I hope to change that, obviously. But the administrative assistant position is someone who's here now, employed, doing an excellent job servicing both my agency and the airport. That is really my focus for what it's worth. So, and I understand the process and I understand everything, stipulate everything that you've discussed so far, and I agree. It's just that I would hate to see myself or any other department lose an employee because of inaction at this point. And frankly, I don't know, not to be obstinate, I don't know that 5% is going to satisfy those needs throughout the courthouse. For others that are similarly situated, people who weren't classified correctly when they were hired, or reduced when they were hired, or have deserved an increase that just hasn't been forthcoming. So that may be another unintended consequence.
To me, though, part of this process, so right now, I think any individual department has been done, could come in. If you knew your position was way off for whatever reason, that's different than saying, we're just gonna start making adjustments to all these positions to get it to match up just to this one thing. Well, maybe their job description isn't accurate anymore. Maybe the scoring isn't accurate anymore. You could have that one-on-one with HR, and HR could come back to these commissioners and say, you know, this one is way out of whack. But it's not just because other counties are deciding to pay people more money. However, they come up with their scale. They're just saying, this position does not fit on the scale. And I would argue probably every department may have a position or two like that. But it's not just making a widespread change just for the sake of doing it. And there's still nothing to prevent that under the current process. I mean, you could go to Josh could come back to the commission and say, this position really, if you use the scoring criteria and everything else, factoring all these factors, you're correct. You know, this is off, but it's not just because of pay, it's because we've undervalued it, or we haven't actually encompassed all the actual job description components to it, or whatever else. I mean, that's still, to me, a little bit different than what we're talking about, just adjusting numbers to try to get them to match somebody else. And that takes into consideration the whole ball of wax. Now, if you wanted to do, each department had wanted to sit down with Josh and go through and match up based on the green line and non-green lines. I mean, that's up to you guys, I guess, if you want to do that and then come back to the commission with those recommendations, you could do that for each one. But it doesn't mean every single position that's not, you know, that's below green is necessarily going to be ultimately justified under a comprehensive review of what the position should be.
See, here we are, 30 minutes later, thought we'd come to some agreement that 5% was going to be the number. We're going to spend the money to hire a professional consultant. And now we're entertaining Andy's argument to increase his staff.
The reality is the staff isn't going to be happy with 5%. I mean, that's a given. I think most department heads and the people in that aren't going to be happy with 5%. That's just the reality. So no matter what, there's going to be complaints, whether they say it to your face right now or they do it behind the scenes. They're not going to be happy with it, especially for those positions that feel like they're way under. But again, I'm trying to make the distinction. I wish I could explain it a little bit better, but you're not just doing a widespread change, you're looking at positions. So there may be reasons why we're not paying a position that's getting paid more average around the other. So it's not just an adjustment of whatever other counties are paying, it's a comprehensive look into those positions. I think the department head should still have the ability, whether it's part of the budget process or not, to come back to you and argue. It would be ideal to do it as part of the budget process, but it shouldn't just be because where they fell on Josh's scale, the only reason you're going to look at all these individually. I mean, I think it needs to be the total review, which is the best thing we have right now to do. Are you going to wait?
I still don't understand what your recommendation is. Do we listen to department heads who have a special interest? Or do we tell everybody 5% and we should have it professionally for that?
I think as part of the budget process, you come up with what you think is a percentage, fair percent. Right now, we're doing 5%. So that gives you an analysis comparison to what the department heads are recommending versus you. So eventually, when you have that last roundup meeting, that's hopefully when you plug in and say, okay, after looking at all these, taking all these factors in, for 2026, we consider this, and we're also going to conduct a study over the next year. Put money into the budget.
So you're saying that 5% should be increased?
I mean, that's what I think most of the department heads are gonna say.
Of course, yeah, I mean, everybody wants more money. I mean, at 14% request in the first budget we reviewed.
But there may be,
That's unrealistic.
there may be legitimate reasons why that, and that's why I'm saying, I think there's certain positions that need to be separated perhaps from the budget process. And there, well, they will need to go to HR first of all. HR then will have to make a case or not make a case for any changes. And then we'll have to come back to you and say, yeah, this is legitimate. When you take the totality and it's not just based upon just where they fall as a salary survey amongst all counties, it's because of X, Y, and Z, this position really does need to have an adjustment. Or, I mean, to a degree, and we could make the same argument with our administrative assistant. I don't think that's the only reason that position keeps having turnover, but you could make the argument, if you can't fill a position, well, then you've got to do something. Whether you offer more benefits or stuff like that. Does that address the issue of our scales are out of whack eventually? No. Does it adjust your position of having only hires at A through C? No, because technically you have to break that. But it doesn't require him to go 2 years without a position being filled just because of something that maybe could be corrected that's outside of the budget process. And that's probably as clear as I.
We're going to ask Josh to perform a task that we've already decided should be done by a professional consultant. Because if we're telling every department here, you want an adjustment within your department, go see Josh, if you can talk him into it. Then you're,
That's pretty much what I've done.
That's what it is.
That is the process that's taken place.
If the justification is there, like you said on the survey, some positions don't require an increase at all.
the only
Others,
justification I've heard from him on his assistant is that she doesn't feel that 5% is adequate. Listen, every employee we have here, whatnot, could go to work for Jackson Lab right now and get a $5 raise. So knowing, being threatened that,
I have to share, I feel obligated to share that there's a point where arithmetic ends and human resources, executive session stuff begins. So I'm trying to be very oblique in what I'm saying and sharing. And that's true of all positions and all personnel. There's always a backstory, there's always circumstances that we can't discuss if we're just looking at the numbers. And that's part of the conversation that I had with Josh, it's part of the conversation I had with Michael. And all that, regardless, still needs to be factored in. And I'm sure, so I'm speaking of this specific circumstance for myself, in my department, not myself, but, again, not to be argumentative in any way, I have followed that process with Josh, I have followed that process with you. To arrive at my request today, be able to do that with a straight face. I think what's being proposed is fine, you didn't ask my opinion, but it has to happen. And I think we all recognize that a study and having, someone really dig into this in a way that gives us a roadmap for the future and how we get parity in these positions and contrast with, those with representation. And that's just always the equation here.
are you suggesting that we take action on individual department heads' request and then go ahead and do a full study afterwards?
No, I want to be reasonable, but again, I can only speak for myself. I'm not the shop steward for all the other department heads, so I'm trying to be very careful in how I'm promoting this. And it's awkward for me. And I'm going to depart from my usual path when I stand here before you. I've never once ever in my adult life have requested a salary increase for myself. I've always depended on my hard work and my performance to be able to gain the acknowledgement and be compensated accordingly. And I'm not doing that today. I'm really arguing for a position with long-term consequences for the county as well as administrative assistant that frankly wasn't fairly compensated upon hire and has endured, and this is an opportunity to see that corrected.
So Andrew, can I ask a quick question?
Sure, please.
Separate from the budget process, let's say this was like 4 months ago, and this was brought to your attention, and you had those results of the surveys, just
Yes.
more information. Would you not have independently anyway gone to Josh and said, what can we do about this? Here's all what I'm seeing. Because this is kind of the distinction I'm trying to make. There's a difference between full-scale adjustments as part of a budget process and looking at inadequacies in specific positions for whatever reason. And that's where I'm trying to make the distinction is that I don't think you should make adjustments just for the sake of making adjustments that are going to have long-term impacts. But again, arguably, if adjustments need to be made that can be supported and cooperated in the existing system that we had, any other time of the year, you'd be given that opportunity to come before you and you would give that consideration. So you almost have to try to look at it separately as this is where we want to get as part of the budget process. And in terms of applying it globally to everybody, but there may be positions internally here in various departments that need to be looked at and addressed accordingly and eventually wash through. Maybe you do make a mistake and over-adjust, but maybe you also still under-adjust based on the consultant's recommendations and the system that's developed when you put it into effect whatever year. There's no guarantee of that, but I don't think arguably, obviously, you're gonna stop doing what you've been doing just in one fell swoop immediately. So you're still gonna have those requests, you're still gonna have those things that you need to consider. With an understanding that in the long term, you're trying to make a plan to hopefully address all this so you don't have people come back. So, and that's the best I can explain. I don't.
Yeah, and speaking for myself, I say that is only reasonable and the only logical path forward. So I don't disagree with anything.
Okay, gentlemen, what do you want to do?
Oh, I don't have an issue with changing the 5% to 6% as a general starting point. The only thing I'm worried about is how feasible will it be if Josh has to get more involved, maybe he already is, because he did this one, like, in determining, yeah, this position, really, we should try to address at least somewhat now this year, this budget cycle. As long as Josh thinks he can look at it and give us a recommendation, accept it or reject it. So if we were open to something, some positions going up by a few percentage points here and there.
Which would mean changing the job description. That's what Michael's saying.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's how you would
You're
adjust.
changing the job description. You're not just giving that person an increase, you're changing their position on the scale. And that's the
Elements, I mean, those are-
process he may have to go through with
Well, not if you're increasing the entire scale
by 14%.
or whatever.
Or whatever, because it's all over the place. You want a percentage, he wants everything's,
Agreed?
Yes, for Sarah's administrative assistant position, that would be appropriate to look at for a reclassification. That's where the job description gets changed,
That's
and we can
important
look at,
distinction.
right, that's
But
what we,
establishing the wage based upon a job description is not objective. It's subjective. There's nothing objective. You can't add up the components in a job description, say they equal this, that is your wage. That doesn't happen. So it could be that subjectivity, but the adjustment comes in the subjectivity. In other words, we didn't evaluate what they do as office. You know what I mean? Now, PA's office, there are two people in the front office. Years ago, one did this job description, one did this, then they ultimately, this one ended up doing the same job description. Perfect example of why they need to be brought up because of the job description. But when you take a single individual like his assistant and you look at the job description and you say, well, that's very accurate. That's exactly what she does. She does a good job at it and whatnot. Then perhaps the issue is that we're simply not subjectively assessing the rate of pay consistent with that job description. So
oh, I think that's very correct. I was just looking at the sheriff's job descriptions, and some of those are 30 years old. This is a process that is well overdue, that we need to get all those job descriptions up to date. That's not something that's gonna happen overnight to satisfy the budget process. But I think as a starting block, if we can start out at 5, maybe 6%. And then for those individual positions that show justification, IT is a perfect example. They have 2 employees that are exempt. They're not on the wage scale. So I had recommended for Chuck, hey, maybe go for 10, because they're probably 2 of the most underpaid positions market value wise in the county. So yes, some positions do have justification to go above that 5%.
So do you want to evaluate each request individually as we go through this process? That should only add 2 or 3 meetings to this.
Against.
Well, I mean, there is going to be, and Michael can tell you based upon this department head meeting, there is going to be a considerable discussion of increases in staff pay, starting from department heads right down through. I've gotten that from department heads myself. So, I mean, we've already belabored this subject for an hour. We haven't accomplished one thing yet with regards to the salary. So what do you want to do?
I think you have made accomplishments because you're realizing that it needs
Complex
serious,
issue.
serious review. Yeah.
But I think we can all agree that we would like to have this professionally handled.
Yep.
But that doesn't solve the immediate problem. Now, should we come back and say, okay, let's give everybody a 7.5% increase? Nobody gets anything different. Then with the promise that we're going to have this analyzed by a professional consultant and your wages will be based on the expertise of this individual, 27 budget.
In terms of
7.5%. Is that to avoid people complaining that they didn't get it adjusted individually?
We're hearing that 5% isn't gonna cut it. So, okay. But we also hear that I would like to see my staff get a 14% increase. So we're hearing from one side, 5%'s not gonna cut it, we'd like to have 14, where do we want to be in this mix? I'm saying, I really can't buy 14% for anybody without some concrete objective information that justifies that. That's difficult to do.
We have the survey.
We have the survey, and
How far off are we from the survey?
well, the problem is that we often compare ourselves with Walden and Washington because of the geographical area and the populations. And I gotta tell you, it's a lot more expensive to live in Hancock County because it does Washington County. Right, Josh?
It is.
And so you can't compare us to Washington County. And you can get down to Lubec right now and buy a good home for $250,000. Can't buy a shack on the island for $250,000. The median price right now is $336 for a house on the island.
And that's why we're having this debate this morning, sir. If we were in Aroostook County, we wouldn't be having this discussion right now. But the fact of the matter is,
But we need that analyzed professionally so that it's, and I think it's too much to expect Josh to tackle this all by himself. At some point, they're gonna hang him. Somebody's gonna hang him because you can't satisfy everyone. So what if we do a 7.5% and tell everybody, nobody gets anything different? We're gonna have this professional study done and we'll adjust these things based upon a professional having it analyzed by a professional in the 27 budget.
BAC, make adjustments.
Sure they can. We just have to sit here today and say, if that's the plan, we stick to it. Because if the three of us stick to it, no matter what the BAC recommends, we can still go with the plan. We'll do that. So we're going to adjust in the, I don't know, spreadsheet, I guess the Excel. And I'd like to see somewhere along the way, Michael, that the 7.5 be given to the department heads with the explanation as to what we're going to do, asking them if they can live with that so that we can change the department head's recommendation to mirror ours for the wages. Now, the one thing, if you have a department head that says, like, just add the travel,
You could throw me under the bus.
okay, so Julie's gonna say, no, I want more, and I'm going to the BAC and begging for more. That's Julie's prerogative. Don't hold it against her. But that's still a prerogative, but it's still may solve some problems in the future as we deal with the BAC if their ask and our ask is the same. Because they have a philosophy that if the department head and the commissioners agree, why should we disagree? And if the department head doesn't argue for more or less, it makes it easier to get through that process.
The only thing that I would say, again, not trying to complicate anything, trying to be as objective and fair as I know how to be about this. You probably will have some department heads that may not for themselves disagree with that 7.5%, but again, may have a positional issue that they would like to have an opportunity to address with the commissioners about. And like they've been able to do all the way up until right now. So I mean, I'm not saying again, that's different than part of the budget or doing another thing, but if somebody can come to you after speaking with HR and have identified under the current criteria we're operating in, a legitimate issue, are you saying you will now just refuse that because you've decided as part of the budget, even though there might be a legitimate reason that position needs to be adjusted, you're not going to entertain that? It's just 7.5.
From my point of view, Michael, if something like that comes to us, it's going to have a very objective, identifiable reason for that. It can't be, oh, I know she doesn't like 5%, oh, she doesn't, this person wants 10, this person feels that they're worth 12, you know what I mean?
No, I completely agree, sir. That's why I think if you decide to move to 7.5, that's more than fair for a place to start. We'll have salary surveys in January and July of each year going forward. So those will be benefits that we haven't had in the past. We're gonna start getting those salary surveys regularly enough that we can know next year whether that 7.5 got us to where we want it, where we should be, or whether we need to keep going a little bit for the next year.
I'm hoping that a professional analyzer can come in though and do something objective within our own environment. So it's not affected by York County's wage scale or roof states or whatever, you know what I'm saying? He can come in and say, okay, in Hancock County, you need to consider these factors. So that's what I'm hoping. Because that's really what we need to do if we want to be competitive. So going forward, we're going to increase wages for non-union to 7.5%. Josh, you're going to do some study and come back with a figure for a consultant for your department.
Do you want multiple quotes for that?
For the time being, for the budget, if you could just get us a ballpark figure of what we should put in your budget, then you can work on specifications, RFPs, RFQs, and so on later. We just need to be able to get through the budget process.
Okay.
Andy, that's where we are, okay?
Understood, and again, I think I just drew the short straw and had the misfortune of having to be the So, but I appreciate the conversation and
You have paved the way.
the conversation, and Michael, thank you, Monica, thank you, and Josh.
The thing is, for today, are we gonna continue or do we need to kind of?
Well, I mean, you still can continue on the discussion
Okay.
because they're gonna have to make one final. And
Okay.
that's just gonna be with the understanding that you understand, obviously, that those personnel items that you're seeing with everybody else will be gifts.
And based upon my comments earlier, there will be a date later when you'll be able to come back and talk specifics.
Yeah, of course, I
Full
understand,
review on your budget.
and that's the compromise in it, and that's
And that's,
only
that
reason.
would be the time when you say, look, something happens, this is not cut it, we need one, this is why.
Correct.
So if we can move on then,
Thank you.
thank you.
I haven't spent this much.
Oh, no, we got deeds there.
Yeah, I only have 2 lines I want you to look at.
Salary, one of them?
Yeah, well, yes, but not that.
Right, okay.
I just would like you to read my notes.
Let's go through the process, and then when we get to it, let's start with your revenues.
Okay. So that's with the fee increase, just how our numbers set this year for the projection for next year. And just in case you didn't get the memo, our transfer tax portion will go down by 0.8 starting in September instead of near the end of September where it would be. But they're gonna take all of September and move forward for 2 years.
Decreasing that.
Yeah, for 2 years.
This is at, what, they get 80% now? That's the one?
No, they get 90, we get 10,
90.
but they want more.
Because you get plenty of money, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. And yet they were the ones that changed the fee increase down a little bit, because the fee increase was gonna be a little bit more. So,
So they decreased their fee and they increased their share.
yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly correct. And then up the date to take the money by law.
With the thought that would have come up from the government, right?
Yes, but
So anyways, overall, the number is 40,000 better, so.
and I mean, and remember, that's just based on this year. It's looking like things are gonna change a little bit,
For the better? Good. Your sales, and everything.
gonna be.
So moving on to your expenditure.
Yep. I just, really, the only thing I need to talk about is, that personnel line 130 and the one right below it, 300.
Yeah,
Just to make sure that you understand why my numbers are that way.
I didn't realize that I had left that off. I almost, was,
That's okay though.
was that number recently put in, the
No.
24?
No,
It was in there all along.
yeah, but that's okay,
I
Monica.
apologize, that'll be added to,
And I knew that.
We don't know what you're talking about.
yes, 01-300 on the spreadsheet. I have it as 0. And that was my own
It's okay.
basically it's a typo.
Yeah, it's
What should
okay.
it be?
Should be as she's showing on the trio report,
Make us look.
It's okay.
24-648, but it's gonna change anyway with the new,
The part-time,
yeah.
and
I
that
saw it.
was 0 in 25.
Correct.
Why are we going up to?
Did you read my notes
No,
on
I
that
don't.
trio
No, I did
page?
not.
No, if you read that, that's what I'm asking you to
Oh,
do.
tell me. Tell us
Part-time
again.
position. She's creating a part-time position.
The reason,
And,
is it 24,000?
yeah, 3 days.
That's a number. So the regular drop from 142 to 95, and then you're gonna add
I'm eliminating a full-time position.
47 to, that's a net decrease of 20,000, something like that, 20, maybe 25,000.
Probably.
Good.
Right, and it'll drop a little more with the new percentages.
Yes. But I think that 130 line will probably go down.
So the numbers here for salaries, that really changed with 7.5%, because there, some are almost up there anyways, right?
Her request was 9%.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at the Excel sheet.
The Excel sheet, on the Excel sheet, every increase is 5%. When you see 7% out to the side, it's because it's a change in how to pay. I don't like the way it calculates, but it doesn't calculate accurately when it calls it a 7% increase, but those show a 5% increase.
Well, you've done yours. Michael, have you done your spreadsheet for salaries yet?
So the stuff that we've inserted here is based on 5%.
Right.
That you
But-
constructed us last time, but obviously I haven't made a change in there yet for the change that you just approved for the 7.
The 7.2 is factoring in step increases.
No, the deputy
No.
manager is,
She gets steps.
she's
but
on
I
the
don't.
wage, right, so
Yeah.
that's why it's showing at 7.2, because
So is that a true 7.2 in her wage?
it should be 5, it should show as 5%.
That's just something in the system that.
Right.
So you can't even depend on the percentage.
Because I don't like the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Wait till you get to Department 5.
Can't wait. Anything else, gentlemen, with wages, wage cost? Not moving down,
I like how it got less.
Hmm?
I like how it got less.
Thank you. Try.
well, that 329 is gonna increase by 24,000, right? So that's gonna be closer to
Yeah.
355, which is still better than 372.
Some of the small increases, just out of curiosity, like bank fees and things like that.
It's just according to, how many credit cards we take in. And so the more of those, yes,
So it's not necessarily the rate percentage
No.
change, it's just the
No.
volume.
yeah, the volume.
Any other questions, gentlemen, with these? Samuelson? Julie, thank you.
No, thank you. Michael, thank you. Josh.
Thank you very much.
No, really, thank you.
Michael, while I'm thinking about it, I've got in Andy. We factored in any cost for the Hancock site for them.
So that was my understanding, that some of those costs were supposed to be built into.
Did he build those into
To the
his?
ones that he was supposed to, yeah. So I will
Double
double
check
check.
Yeah, okay.
Most of his
So
lines are.
we'll go to IT. Hasn't changed.
Has not changed.
Where's the agency revenue? What is that?
That's a UT in airport,
Oh, it's okay.
equal share, 2,500 each.
Going to.
And say one, give you a summary of my increases. If you look at the total increase is $105,000. And if you look at I break it down, they looked at the increases, it's 70,000 of it is attributed to the Hancock site. And 22,000 of it is attributed to Microsoft increases. So that's 92,000 of the $105,000 increase in my budget. Just between Microsoft and Hancock.
Is the cost of the Hancock site one issue or several combined? One component or several combined?
Well, it's the internet and telephone is a huge part of it.
And that's a reoccurring cost every
That's an
year?
annual cost, and that's an annual cost of about 55,000 annual cost. And the other part of that, the other 25,000 is one-time cost.
And what is that for? Number?
Things like phone, computer equipment. So, that stuff will wear out. You're probably gonna have about a 5-year cycle is what I do usually for computer equipment.
Okay, for the next discussion we have, Chuck, can you itemize that 25,000? The reason I say that is that we may want to have a discussion about purchasing that outside the budget. If it's a one-time Hancock site, we could figure out exactly what that is so that we could.
Break down all the individual items.
No. Well, what I'm looking for is what we can take out of this budget, the 25,000. Where would that show up in your budget if we took that out? And paid for that outside of the budget?
Okay.
Okay? Yeah, Michael.
Would you want to do the same thing like with the RCC when they come before you with their budget and stuff too then?
Well, it depends on what we're talking.
Well, I mean, that's gonna be the challenge, I guess, determine what
yes.
you think, but at least to have the breakdown so you can see what.
Yes. Because it's a one-time Hancock site cost, and we can get that one-time cost out of another source.
I'm not sure if you got these papers or not. If you these.
EMA didn't really show any
This might be
increase.
memo.
I'll have to, I know he wasn't.
Hancock site here. Hold on, cost. Hancock site right there.
Must be.
I forget it right now. See the asterisks.
Michael, do you know? You got a copy?
Yeah, I believe that.
We used to get something like that in the sheriff's department on the IT expenses. We used to get breakdown in every one of those. We haven't gotten those for the last couple of years.
I try to, this is for my own personal reasons. I keep track of it year to year, try to keep track of where my costs are going.
We used to get something identical, very similar to that in the sheriff's department on their IT cost. That's not something
That, I'm not involved in that, no.
I'd like to see that breakdown because it's
I think that pretty much will show you right there what my costs are for the Hancock.
viewers, okay? But I want to see the difference though between reoccurring and subsequent years, one-time expenses for just 26. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. I can tell you the recurrent right now is all under utilities, which is E 14-15-110.
We get ready to make some concrete changes on that. We need to remind us of that again. Gentlemen, with regards to Chuck's expenses.
So you wanted to break those out, you want to break out those one-time expenses and remove them from this? Is that the goal?
I'm going to suggest that
Okay.
probably
Okay.
when we get ready to do some critical review.
Okay,
John,
I was just asking, on the employee costs, I'm just curious why the percentage increase is so high for like the FICA and all that, like 96%.
because of Banyan,
Because Banning wasn't on it.
right,
Uh,
Banyan's been paid through ARPA.
Oh, okay.
I thought he was getting paid though for the 5 years.
No, he has, the amount that we held out might pay him through January or February. And his pay will come from the G account.
We did a reserve for Banyan for a
We-
while.
We've been reserving
But
funds,
his,
but the cost of the employee costs will still be an expenditure.
so his pay is covered under 5 years.
His
No.
pay, no,
No, we put money in a reserve account for Banyan and we have enough to cover it for the 2026 year. And that's it. And after that, we'll have to
yeah,
assume that cost.
there will be a little left over in that G account.
So we're gonna get hit with a full annual
Salary in
is
27.
27. Correct. How much is that?
Right now, it's currently, she's showing 77,279 proposed for this year.
Where's that trio?
It's in the
It's
notes
in the notes on
on the
right.
spreadsheet.
Oh, I see, 77.
So like, well, the dark fiber, that's really a one-time expense, right?
No, that's an annual cost.
60.
Yep, 60,000, well, it'll be 52 for the fiber, 2,500 for the internet connections. That's annual. That's your big annual cost.
All right. Back on wages, so. I wonder if it wouldn't be prudent, not today, but we do critical review to put third, 40% or so of Banyan's 27 wage in the 26 reserve account. So that we don't take a $80,000 hit in 27 all at once.
There will be 60,000 left in the reserve account after we take the amount out that we need for his pay for 2026. There will still be a balance in that G account.
Of 60,
Yeah,
so yeah, covered.
So we-
27. So,
if you want to maybe.
no, that's fine, that,
Pretty
because that
much.
means we'll add another 20 to the budget.
Right,
We'll have to add 80 or 85 to
Right.
the 2080 budget.
right.
Yeah, okay, we're all,
Okay.
we're all set.
I didn't know it was that much.
Yeah, there's 137 in that.
Just going down through, looking at the substantial increases though, Chuck, in the computer equipment, 30 to 37. Is that an estimate or is that identifiable increase?
Yeah, 7,000 of that cost is Hancock site.
The Hancock site?
Yeah.
And that's going to be reoccurring cost,
No, that's one time.
one time.
And like I said, there's stuff that wears out and you might 5 years down the road have to replace it again. You know, it's computer equipment that does have a life cycle.
Would that 7,000 be identified in that report I'm asking you for?
I can break it down to stuff, but
That maybe is that,
it really comes down to cables, network equipment, things like that. So,
is it going to be hard to separate that out?
I can try to break it down for you.
No, you had to pay for a separate account? No,
I'll pay for it from wherever you tell me to pay.
I know if he has cabling done for, okay, we'll talk about that.
Right.
Identify those things, so if we see that kind of an increase, No, I'm talking about substantial. If we're talking about $1,000 more because of Hancock, I'm not interested.
Yep.
Yeah.
The 10,450 you just mentioned, 37.7 of it is the Hancock site.
Good.
The big one is 15,110, which is the internet. That went up to 60,000 from 4,200, and that's fiber and internet.
But that's gonna be reoccurring every year, right?
That is a recurring.
We gotta bite the bullet, get used to that then.
And 3,320 is computer software, and $22,000 increase in Microsoft. That's what that's for.
That's recurring.
Yeah, that's all. That's gonna be ongoing every year. And then computer support, and that's 3,325. That one went up. 8,250 of that is due to that's the Hancock site again, and that's their phone system.
For what? Oh, for the EOC?
For both the entire facility up there at Hancock, putting in all the phones.
So when you say all of them, the email as well?
Yes. Yeah, both buildings.
And so is that a recurring charge?
No, that actually will be that's hardware and it'll actually go under our existing phone system. We'll join the system here to that one, and you'll have the maintenance charge for our entire phone system, which will probably be up in 3 years or something. That out. But
So can you break the hardware cost down separate? Yeah, that may be an item I want to take care of.
yeah, I provide that.
Probably Andrew's not prepared to pay his cost of his phone, so
I don't,
looking at Michael.
I do all the phones anyways, all of
Oh, you
them.
do all, you do all the phones?
I do all the cell phones, all the phones for the entire
Oh,
facility.
well, yours then.
It's all mine.
Yeah, okay. And I don't see anything else.
Nope, those are the big ones.
Okay. Gentlemen, anything else for the gas IT?
Thank you.
No, just a minute. John's really still looking. I don't want to rush anybody.
We're good. Yeah, okay.
All right, Chuck, thank you.
Thank you.
Michael, you make, I won't remember what I asked you to do. You make notes.
Yeah, I'll make a note, so.
Okay, thank you.
Back and look.
Okay, back to the agenda.
One more department.
Oh. Sorry, Dennis.
Don't be.
We're gonna approve no comment.
Please do. Well, actually, I only put in for 7%, so it's gonna work out well for me.
That's all you're gonna get?
And I would make a comment relative to this county salary survey. It raises a lot more questions than it answers in my view. But first of all, being that I see information regarding a position. So my position, for instance, is co-listed as facilities director, IT director, and a few of the respondents. And a bunch of, about half didn't respond. And I know personally, my counterparts in several counties, and our job descriptions are vastly different. So you're really not, when you're saying facilities director in Hancock County, it's much different than the maintenance supervisor in South China in Oxford County.
You know, I'm hoping.
So
Yeah, I know.
that's why that analysis
I'm
is
just
so
hoping that
important.
a professional analyzer though understands that.
Sure,
And because this survey is too black and white. And that's the problem.
it doesn't catch the nuance.
Right.
Right.
Doesn't catch the nuance. It's a good way to put it. And so it may be a good base for, but I'm hoping that we're going to get specific and objective information from this analyst that we don't understand or didn't factor in.
For sure, and beyond that, those numbers I plug in, even you'll see my numbers for employee expenses, I'll plug in a number, because I don't like blank spaces. Monica has got a much better handle on that than I do, although I was very close, so we're.
I adjusted them.
No. Oh.
I adjusted them. I use them.
Yeah, but anyway, good. And it's probably similar to Chuck's tale. Most of my significant increases are Hancock site related. You know. It just at a glance, the cleaning, yards, ground, even the gasoline, fuel, electricity, water, heating, fuel, trash removal. I flatlined everything I could, except for those items where we know it's gonna cost some money.
Most of them are all essentials right there, consumables, right?
Yes, right,
It's
there.
not like.
We're gonna pay the
Whatever.
electric bill, exactly.
And they're reoccurring every year, so they gotta put in that budget.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not a one
So
time.
there's not a lot of one-time items you can glean out of this budget, but I think that's a smart idea where you can do it. And the plumbing, the building modest, heat and air modest, electrical is modest increase, but they're gonna be real items. And I also made that vehicle insurance increase that Michael brought to our attention for the high deductible, $2,500 deductible. So that's pretty much my budget in a
And
nutshell.
where does that show up in your budget?
That would be,
120.
yes,
Oh, insurances?
yeah, insurance.
We don't have that line in everybody's somehow.
Yeah,
Gentlemen, while we're talking maintenance, I know this is substantial, here we are trying to 5,000 here, 1,000 there, but I guess if all goes well, the court system will be leaving us in 2 or 3 years. Leaving us space that will now belong to the county for our use. And
It's $55,000 less.
for
Revenue.
revenue.
Right.
Yeah, but I think what Commissioner Clark's pointing at,
Well,
renovation
yeah,
after.
we're going to need funds to renovate the existing space, we're going to identify that, and we should start now reserving funds in the Wells maintenance account for that project. And we could easily spend $500,000 to $1 million on this renovation.
Yeah, all of that.
I mean, nothing, every year, everything's up. It's a hell of a number, whatnot. I'm going to suggest that when we do this critical review, that we consider putting $250,000 in that reserve account. It's that building, that maintenance fund every year.
And the
Every
G
year,
account.
you know, because if they are successful in 2 years to get that built by 28, that's vacant. We're going to want somebody's going to want to start renovating that for.
Its future use.
Yeah.
However you determine it.
Yeah.
Its use will be.
So anyways, just keep that in the back of your mind, and Michael, put that on your reminder list.
Yeah, and this might be the best time, I was gonna bring it up towards the end, but I do want to reach out again back to the state, because they haven't really provided us with any official notification at this point. You may recall last year when we were doing the budget stuff, we met with them, and we were able to get the lease payments at least brought up to what the agreement was at that point in time. There wasn't any termination date, if I recall, and then Monica was there, Dennis was there, you guys remind me if I'm wrong, but. So, but we had discussed with them about trying to adjust the remaining years worth of lease payments to reflect change in environment, economy, and everything else.
And we got nickel.
And we kind of got bogged down and kind of thrown into a back and forth negotiation or whatever, but the issue at the time was they didn't know what was gonna happen. They knew they had the Surrey site at that point, and they thought that might be right away versus what they're doing right now. So I really would like to meet with the state, both their finance person, to have those conversations about our lease and what that'll look like for the remaining term that they are here. And also try to get that timetable that you're telling us, try to get something from them that we can really start banking on. So that we've got something we can go back to the public and say, here's what we know for sure at this point.
Some reliable
I
information.
mean, basically, yeah, it's all this, he said, she said, and nothing that's really coming from anybody. But why I'm bringing this up right now is, of course, you know, part of the budget process, again, if we need to adjust those numbers, or we got additional revenue, that would be great. If not, we have to go on what we have, obviously, but I'd like to have a commissioner if possible. And you don't have to tell me this today, but we can try to negotiate something with them first in terms of meeting time. I'd like to have a commissioner sit in on those discussions, so one of you can hear it directly at least with them when we meet. And have those questions that come on.
I'd be very interested in doing that.
Yeah,
If
so
you
if
guys-
you're willing to do that, then I'll reach out to them.
I'll set John, if I can-
I'll reach out to them, try to get some dates, and then we'll go from there. Just so we can have those conversations and try to help us develop a budget as well as these future conversations. going forward. So, all right, thank you, sorry.
Dennis, maybe you're not done talking, but are
Not yet.
you trying to build a tractor reserve?
Tractor, no, we're good with that.
You had $750.
Oh, no, I wanted to keep contributing to its replacement, but
There's no, is there a reserve line?
did I put it in the wrong place?
Yeah, it's,
There
I
is.
see reserve for
There is one.
750.
Yeah, but I don't know that you have a reserve account, a G account. I'll have to look. You've never budgeted there.
No, I meant to put that in the vehicle reserve,
Well,
7,300.
Oh,
the G account's where this would go at the end of the year, right?
right.
Yeah.
There is no existing G account for a tractor. I wasn't, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, no,
Would you just set that up if we,
No, I don't know what his intention is.
I meant to put that in the tractor
Oh,
line, I meant to put that in vehicle,
is that true?
the 300,
Is
to
that
replace the vehicle when it comes.
replace the tractor?
No, I don't need to replace the tractor. The tractor's gonna be good for a long time.
What's the reserve tractor?
The goal, that was when we were initially trying to buy one. That's when the genesis of it.
So why are we still reserving money?
We shouldn't be. That should be
Should that be
in,
zero?
under vehicle 7,300,
okay, so increase that by another 750,
right?
because you already had that at.
At 2,000 or.
No, if you look, last year you had 2,000, this year you had 2,500. Then you also had a line of 750 in tractor. I'm going by
Yeah.
what you had in trio. So if you want the.
No, that's a mistake. I can tell you this, I don't need the tractor reserve.
Okay,
So we should remove it.
So just remove it, yeah.
Okay.
2,500 is the vehicle.
okay,
And because I thought that might have been on my plan. I didn't plan to increase the reserve amount of the vehicle.
You did from
You did.
2025.
Oh, then that answers it.
Okay,
And also there is, you'll see listed the part-time scheduled line, populated with $20,000, and that's for housekeeping and maintenance at the EOC. This is a position that Leroy, out at the airport has got a real void in housekeeping. In fact, you remember, we went out there and did some housekeeping for a bit, and he'd like a half-time position to clean the airport. And that would really dovetail nicely with a half-time position to clean at the EOC. And it works out well because for the airport, their busy time is now, summer. And we're not, our cleaning load is less in the summer. So when he needs the help, we could give it. And in the wintertime, when the load here is greater and traffic out there is not nearly as much, we could use them or overexploit them on this facility or the EOC as needed.
so are you taking a part-time person and actually placing him in a schedule every week?
Now, this wouldn't be this would be a full-time position,
It
but
says,
it's listed there because I didn't change the heading. It's listed as part-time schedule, but actually it would be a full-time
well, that's not,
person.
that's
who
not
would
gonna
work.
pay a full-time, but where's the rest of the salary coming from?
It was come from Leroy.
Oh, I see.
He's gonna put 20 in that, a similar spot.
so it's a half full-time person,
Yes,
but you wanted to use that 302. You wanted to keep them separate.
I did, because he's airport, yes. And
No.
we talked about, I'm gonna stop saying airport. We talked about you putting it in that slot because it was available, and you would change the heading of that to EOC janitor.
Oh, I didn't understand that. Okay.
So we understand what it's for. I guess it's up to you guys to come up with something.
Yeah, it's confusing when you read part-time
Well, yeah, because
because it's,
scheduled for part-time, you have to be careful with those people.
Sorry, I
Because
didn't
unlike
realize.
on-call as needed, scheduled part-time, not on-call, they have an expectation.
Exactly
So
right.
That raises different issues. So anyways, that's not what this is.
no, this
This
is
is-
a,
Part of the full-time wage.
right, another,
We understand you guys will have to come up with something you're comfortable with this for title.
okay,
Anything else with regards to the maintenance budget? Dennis?
no,
Gentlemen?
thank you.
Gentlemen is still looking, Dennis.
Oh, okay. I jumped the gun on you. Although, they did find the water line, digging that second test pit.
Did you cut into it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, we had the city water was out there in 15 minutes. Shut it off, we made the repair and back.
Is it a 1-inch pipe?
It was 1-inch pipe.
1-inch pipe?
So,
And
I'm gonna recommend we change that. At least you know where it is.
where are we with this project?
Dig Day is ending this week.
Why aren't we breaking ground? Oh, can't get over it.
The same way, yeah.
Dennis, you and I can go hire a couple
I know,
carpenters and build this place here.
yeah,
They don't get going. Holy
Yeah.
cow. Because one of the things I need to talk to you about is how does the building of the EOC affect where we want to put our access roads? Right. And the level, the elevation.
exactly.
So, anyways, okay, we'll talk. Moving on. Thank you, Dennis.
Sure thing.
Now, do we have an executive session to discuss personnel matters?
Oh, that's that feedback survey of Josh's. I was curious.
Yeah, we need that.
Right.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Martha.
Chuck, lock that door, please.
I'm sorry?
You want to lock that door on your way out?
Sure.
All right, I'm gonna move to go to executive session